Right. So thanks for joining. I'm Andy from Etc. Advisory, as most of the people here know. And we've been talking recently about the Kickstarter scheme. And the driver behind this for me was actually an article by a guy called Phil Gripton, who's another advisor who is a big advocate for apprentices in the industry. And I really latched onto that a few weeks ago. And I realized that I'm focused on creative industries and service sector, but the same applies to any business. But in our sector at the moment, we have a real dearth of talent because whilst we had the lockdown, a lot of people stopped employing people. So right now, when I'm talking to clients, what I'm hearing is that there's people with 1 or 2 or 3 years experience who were already hired pre-pandemic. They're disproportionately expensive because they've actually got some experience, but there's no one coming through because no one was hiring during the pandemic, or very few people were hiring, but they were hiring into skills requirements. So this gap is existing, and yet we're lucky to be enough in an industry where there's a lot of demand. So there seems to be a really obvious connection between Kickstarter, which is saying get 16 to 24-year-olds back into work, and we're going to basically pay for it for 6 months, and this skills gap that we've got. So I spoke to Jemma. I've committed to it. I've started the process of hiring an apprentice. Jemma thinks it's 2 people, but don't tell her I'm only hiring 1. Because even as a sort of one-man band, I'm entitled to do it, and Jemma will tell us why. So I think there's a real opportunity, and it just seems to me what an amazing chance for us to do something for the talent in this country, particularly post-pandemic, post-Brexit, with everything else that's going on, and to fill a skills gap that we've got, and really to make a difference to some individuals potentially as well. All of it subsidised. So that's the background to this. I spoke to Jemma. She's very persuasive, but it's actually a very compelling argument. So Gemma's going to talk to us about this. Tell us the details of it and how we can go about it. Then we can have a Q&A, and if that doesn't, if we still have time, we've got a few questions that we were sent in from people who read Rambling On, which is my weekly newsletter, etc.co.uk. You'll find Rambling On, sign up there. I got the plug in, Amy, thank you. But we've been talking about it in there, and we've had some questions sent in from those readers as well. So Jemma, I stopped talking. You're the expert. Tell us about Kickstarter, please.
Okay, thanks so much, Andy. So my name's Jemma, and I work for a company called Gradfuel, and we've become the government gateway for the Kickstarter scheme. So it's a £2 billion scheme that the government have set up to generate jobs into companies for young people. So from, like Andy said, 16 to 24-year-olds. So what we do is we work with a lot of small to medium-sized businesses to make sure that they get approved, because there's a certain amount of criteria that you have to follow to be approved. So a lot of people do go direct, but they have been rejected. So then we've worked with a lot of those companies as well. So because there's only 22% of people being approved, but everyone we've sent through has been approved. So our success rate is 98%. So the approval stage takes about 4 weeks, but because there's so many companies going through at the moment, it is a little bit longer. So sorry, Andy, it probably is going to be about 6 to 8 weeks.
Now you tell me.
But we are now working, helping place people as well. So we're hoping that it will go back down to 4 weeks. So the approval stage, that's how long that takes. And then after, when you've been approved, we've got a team of client success, where they send you a job description template where you say who you're looking for. And depending on how many people you have on the payroll, so say if it was just you can have 2 people. If there's 9 of you on the payroll, then you can have 3 people. Then 12, you can have 4 Kickstarters. And then it's like a 3 to 1 really. So, and then for each person you get a grant of 1,500. So that's to cover fees, equipment and training. And then the government cover 25 hours a week of their wage. So it works out as 100 hours a month. So, and then that's for 6 months. And then after that time, when that contract ends, you can either keep them on, which would be amazing, but you're not tied into anything. So say, you were like, well, it was great while the scheme lasted, but now it's ended and I can't keep that person on. But obviously for the young person, they've got that 6 months of experience. So you're not tied into anything at all. So the first part is the approval stage. Then after that, we'll send you the job description template, talk to who it is that you're looking for, and then we'll find you the candidate. And how we do that is we've got a platform, which is Gradfuel, and then we've also got 16 job boards, and we're going to job fairs as well, all across the UK, meeting the candidates face to face. So then we can, see what it is that they're looking for as well, and then match you up with the right candidate. And then if you start someone and say that it's not working for you, or, they don't turn up, like that's like the worst case scenario, then we will replace that candidate for you as well. So for you guys in your position, it's like no risk at all. So we do all of like the admin side, finding the candidate, and then we do take a fee, which is 600, but we take that on successful placement, and that's from the grant. So it's not at all from your business. So that's from the 1,500, but you'll get to keep the 900, and then that's just for you. There's no clawback with that at all.
So what I've decided to do with the 1,500 up front, isn't it? When you get the placement, 600 of that's going to go to basically to Jemma.
Not me.
as the fee, but the 900 I'm going to use to pay for the laptop that I'll need for the apprentice. So even that component of this is kind of subsidized by the government up front. So it just seems like that's a real no-brainer. It might be training you need to give them, but my whole placement is going to be about training. We'll talk about that later on. But
yeah, and then what we've been finding as well, because obviously you will have to train the new candidate you've got, but it'd be good if they did have some experience. And it is everyone that's on universal credit, but what we found going to the job fairs, that there are a lot of graduates, people that have been working for a year. A lot of people do want to take, I know it's obviously 16 to 24, but with 16-year-olds, it's extra insurance, so a lot of people are keeping to 21-year-olds, 23-year-olds. And then if they need to, they want people for social media, these type of, obviously they're really good at it. So that's what we found as well, which has been really good. And the caliber of candidate is really high. I used to work in graduate recruitment. So when we were at the job centre and we are interviewing graduates, they are of that standard. So it is just a really good time to find candidates as well, just because they've lost jobs through no fault of their own, just being made redundant. So we have found that there is really good potential as well, which is great.
Fantastic. And the 25 hours, Jemma, that's the 25 hours the government pays for.
Yeah, so that's all. Yeah.
But are you required to employ them for so effectively 5 hours a day? Are you required to then pay them for a further, say, 2.5, 3 hours, or how does that work?
No, so they have to be there the minimum of the 25 hours, but you don't have to have them any longer than that time. So then obviously it's all subsidized by the government. But if you did want them working, say 37, you would just pay that remainder.
And you say, they have to be there. Do they have to be working in an office? Can they be working remotely?
No, yeah, so they can work remotely as well. Yeah, it's just that they do have to work a minimum of that 25 hours. Sometimes people say it's okay, and you need someone 16 hours a week, but they do need to be there for the 25 hours. And then obviously anything more than you would cover that from your business.
And you mentioned something to me about what's the rate that the government pay, and what's the difference between that and, is it living wage? I can't remember the difference.
No, it is so it is minimum wage. So it's because we've had some Kickstarters that have worked for us. So we pay a little bit over minimum wage. So we use that, and then whatever the remainder is, then they just add that to their wages.
So I think there's a small difference between minimum wage and living wage.
Yeah, so it's £8.72.
Right, okay.
So that's what they're covering on the 25 hours a week.
So I think it's £1 or £2 an hour, then maybe, if that difference.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's a choice. You don't have to make up the difference, do you? I mean,
no, you don't have to. And because if you're, a lot of these young people want to get the experience, so they're happy with working at that. So I know when I just graduated and it was my first job, it was a minimum wage, but you just want to start and get the experience. So this is what a lot of people are wanting to do.
Brilliant. I think that's the key here. It feels to me, it doesn't feel right to be paying minimum wage, but living wage in return for 6 months of really immersive, valuable training that makes someone hugely employable in a sector where there's a massive demand. I think that's the quid pro quo that I see here, and I can kind of square that off for myself. You
Exactly.
mentioned social media natives as well. What did you mean when you said that?
About
I know what the
media.
phrase means, but
I'll say that again, sorry.
you said social media natives, or a lot of these younger people are social media natives. What was the?
Oh yeah, so just like they really like, loads of them we spoke to really want to get involved in like media, marketing, and doing social, so like doing social media. And so many businesses now need to be on the apps, like even on like TikTok, and they know how to navigate that really well. So yeah, that's what I meant by that.
Okay, great, it's great. And for our older viewers, TikTok is a social media platform that the kids really love. Gemma, you can't assume anything in this industry. Okay, and so when does it? So to clarify two stats. One was the 22% versus 98%. So it sounds to me like if you go, and I have looked at the government portal for this, it's quite complicated. Are you saying that there's a very high failure rate when people apply through direct?
Yeah, there is, just because there's so many things that you have to follow. So you have to help with like CV and interview prepping. So you have to, they have to see that you are doing that. So if you're not doing that, then people are being rejected. And then a lot of like bigger scale companies, like Tesco's or Sainsbury's, and they're applying for like 300 Kickstarters, then they'll approve them. But if it's just like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, then quite a lot of the time people are being rejected as well. And it is just quite time consuming as well, and that's why so many people don't want to get involved with it. When I've spoken to people, they're like, oh, it's going to be so much paperwork, and that's why I'm like, literally, it's not. We manage all of that. We literally send you the letter of engagement, you sign that by DocuSign, and we manage all of the paperwork side, because it is very time consuming.
And that's what changes the 22% to 98% acceptance rate, because you guys know the process, you take on all that paperwork. And that's what struck me was, the £600, it's a reasonable fee, but you take all of the burden off this, don't you? Bar writing the job description and interviewing the people.
Yeah, then we do all that, like find the candidates, sieve out the candidates. Obviously, at the end, you interview, say, like the 5 candidates we put in front of you, but obviously, your business is inside and out, so you want to, see who you want to start. And we also, because we are going to the job fairs, there's a lot of the DWP work in there, so we've got a very close relationship with them now as well. So anyone that we're putting through, then they're like, oh, that's from Hire Fuel.
Fantastic. And the last question I had was around when it ends, because I know this doesn't run forever.
No, so it ends in December, but we spoke to one of the governors last week, and they said that if they aren't going to extend it, because it did sound like they were at one point, but they said if you've got the jobs live, then you can still place for next year as long as they're live. So they just have to be approved by December.
Which means that if you want to get it approved, it being about 4 weeks, you need to get even though you can be having an apprentice in next year up till the summer, you need to get that approved by, or get the approval process started by the end of November, say.
Yeah, definitely. And then when you have them there, and say if you're not busy in January, I won't have a need in January, because you will have been approved and the jobs will be live, then you can say, actually, like, June's my busiest time, I want to start someone in June, then you'll be able to. So it's just that we have to sign you up as soon as possible, really. And then and then as long as that's live, then next year would be fine to start someone. Fantastic,
thank you. So just quickly summarizing that, if I can, and just jump in when I'm wrong, because I will be. It's 25 hours a week. It's 1,500, that's paid for by the government, minimum wage, 25 hours minimum. You can make it up if you want to more hours. It's 6 months placement. You get 1,500 quid up front. And with you guys taking on all the heavy lifting, 600 of that goes to you directly, which leaves you £900 for kit and training and other things. The apprentices, they're not all 16-year-olds, which was my misapprehension. They're 16 to 24. But they are on universal credit. That's the defining component. And what else was there? That's it, isn't it? I think that's essentially.
Work remotely, and as well, I think.
Yeah, they can work remotely. Yeah.
That's why.
How does that work with the training, Gemma? Because if there's a level of expectation on what training's provided, my organisation is totally remote.
Yeah, that's fine, because it is just how your protocol, and with like Google Meet, then it's absolutely fine to do your training like that. It's just literally whatever your company does, so it's fine.
Perfect, thank you.
Brilliant, good question as well, because I'm not going to have someone, I'm sitting in my study here. I'm not going to have some poor soul sitting in the corner next to the cat and the printer.
But yeah, that's it, because now obviously so many people have been working from home and loads of places haven't ever gone back to the office, and people have started, so they have been doing training through, you know, Google Meet or Zoom, whichever one you use. So that's absolutely fine as well.
Fantastic. So any questions? Anyone got any? There's a lot to digest there.
With the training, so what evidence? I've got a training and development background. So previously, there was evidence required for these roles that you'd have to produce on a regular basis. Is that still a requirement?
No, so that is everything that we handle as well.
Okay.
So that is like the different teams. I'm not like fully aware of that, but that is like what is literally everyone that we've put through, and they've done the training how they would normally hire someone. So and then because you've already been approved, then that's absolutely fine. And because we are then the government gateway, the government are trusting that we are, you know, checking that. So we might, you know, like give you a call and check in with you, and you just telling us what you're doing, so we can upload that on the system and send it to them.
Okay.
That's
I was aware that was an ongoing thing, and I wasn't sure if it was still the same. So it's obviously still the same, and you still need to provide a level of what's being done.
Yeah, but it's they do want to make it, you know, as like easy as possible, and then that's why they brought us in as well, because obviously we want so many companies to do it, so it needs to be easy for you guys as well.
Well, we need to get people back to work, don't we? That's the bottom line.
Yeah, exactly.
And we need people, so it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, because obviously unemployment is huge. They need to get people back into work and, you know, paying their taxes.
And having the start of a career that we were all given without the pandemic. Yeah,
exactly. That's the thing. They just want exactly. And they don't want to be, you know, signing up for roles, which is like if they've like gone to uni and then, you know, working, you know, like lower paid roles or something, they've gone like for a reason. So you can just see when you're speaking to them the frustration, how they just want a foot in the door, really. Yeah.
So Chris, you raised your hand very politely.
Yeah, I was just wondering the mechanics of the payments, both in the grant and the fee every month.
Oh, it's not every month. The fee's only once off.
Sorry, the 25 hours a week paid. How does that actually work?
So you get an 8-digit code, which is generated from the DWP. So then you'll just type that in, and then it will just like release the wages. Got you. Okay. So yeah.
And the other thing on that, Gemma, doesn't that cover NI and pension contributions?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Okay. Good question. Thank you.
Will, you put your hand up there?
Yeah, hi there. Sorry you can't see my camera. We've teed up a couple of potential roles, one of which is dependent on basically a proposal that we're submitting for some other work we're doing that's not related to Kickstarter. So it would be something that if that does come to fruition, it would have start in like February. When we submit our Kickstarter applications, can we have a role there that is sort of conditional on things that aren't related, you know, so we won't be able to have that role there if this business venture doesn't kick off, basically.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely fine. And a lot of companies say like it sounds really good, the scheme, and they want to sign up to it, but then they're worried like, oh, we have to employ someone then, but you actually don't. So you can just have it there as an option. So if it didn't start the business venture, then that would actually absolutely be fine for you never to start them. But obviously you wouldn't get the grant or anything like that, but you're not tied into anything.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Cameron, you put your hand up. You're on mute, Cam.
Oh, you're on mute.
Apologies. Obviously, a lot of young people that join the military, age 16, 17, 18. Are you seeing any of them in the mix? Because for us, those skills could be quite useful for our business.
See, well, we could definitely like send out adverts for like when we apply, when we advertise the job, on the job boards. So we could definitely do that. Maybe some of my colleagues have, but I actually haven't personally.
Cool.
But there is, you know, so many candidates, and but so we definitely could do that, and like to make sure we like attract through our bespoke campaigns as well, if you're looking for like a certain type of candidate.
Perfect. Thanks. That's really helpful.
Thanks, Cam. Gemma, could you tell us about the platform? Because I think, you know, we've all had experience of using recruiters and recruiting staff and finding the right people and filtering all of the candidates is a huge pain.
Yeah.
You work for Gradfuel, and Gradfuel originally was a grad recruitment platform. So is that how do you actually help with the finding the right people?
Yeah, because that's the thing, because I actually used to work in recruitment as well. So now with this platform, it's actually cutting the recruiter out. So, but I think because times are changing, it is like moving with the times. But what I know from obviously working in recruitment before, the fees were very high. So it was like 1,500 at least that you'd be paying for a candidate. So if you use this platform, you can use it for free. And what it does is a chat bot. So it asks the candidates loads and loads of questions. And then we speak to companies who it is that they're looking for, and then it matches up the roles with a candidate. And because it goes straight onto their phone, it's a better engagement. So then they're more likely to go to the interview, and then you're getting the contact details of the candidate as well. So you can literally be like, right, there you look good, their CV looks good, and then you can call them and arrange an interview. So that's how the platform works. And that's what we were doing before the Kickstart scheme. And then that's why we've become a gateway, because the government were like, oh, we like what you're doing, you can find candidates. So that's why we've been like concentrating on the Kickstart scheme, but they are working still on the app. So you can use it for free. And then that just is £600 on a successful placement. But
so that's all included within the £600 fee, is the using the platform.
Yeah, so you can use the platform as well. I know it sounds kind of confusing, because we can do like the Kickstarter without the platform, and then you could always use the platform for like after the Kickstarter's ended.
Okay, understood. And in terms of finding, you talked about going to fairs and basically drumming up interest in the roles that might place with you. How does that feed back into us? So if I'm sitting here, one-man band, generally busy most of the time, do I just get a blizzard of emails coming in from people, or how does that work?
we would meet them at the job fairs, like interview them there, and then the right candidates, then we would send you across their CVs, and then say when you're free. And if you just said I want to do a day of interviewing on this day, then we would like send them all forward, or you could do it over Google Meet.
Okay, great. Thank you.
But we want to make that as easy as possible as well, because obviously you don't want to have like someone on the Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. You kind of just want it in a block of a day. So we're trying to do that as well.
Emma, somebody that couldn't come today had dropped us an email, and they basically asked how much control they've got over the skills, the people that they maybe would employ. How much control do they have over what those people are good at, where their skills lie, things like that?
So after the approval stage, when they'll be doing like job description template, you can say on there as detailed as possible who it is that you're looking for. So then when we're interviewing the candidates, we'll know what you are looking for. So then when they will be able to interview them, and then they can be like, okay, say like, oh yeah, that one's great. And if no one is, you can be like, right, this is what you're looking for more, and then we can find those type of people. So we actually essentially have kind of turned into recruiters a little bit again. But obviously to manage the whole process, we need to really. So obviously there's so many people, so we need to start sieving out before you guys meet the candidate. So then you only put 5 instead of 20.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great. Chris?
Yeah, just from my very narrow perspective, we're quite a unique offering, and skills for us isn't necessarily the biggest and be all and end all. It's all about fit and grit, determination, and that sort of thing. And
yeah,
I don't know how I'm going to do that over a video call, frankly. Although you can get a feeling from people that way. It's for this kind of younger role and somebody coming in, we're looking to hire people to keep them forever.
Yeah,
it's impossible.
Yeah,
but that's my first sort of point of call of this. Mold people into superstars. And that's really where I'd like to go with this. I think it's an awesome idea, and I'm well up for it. But how would you support that kind of narrative?
Yeah, definitely. No, that's really good. The fact that you want to keep them on as well, that's amazing. That's great for us to hear. And if you didn't want to do video, no interviews over video, you can do it face to face as well. It's just easier for you to do it like that. Some people, if it's remote, then video interviewing is obviously better. But you can do it face to face as well. Because whereabouts are you based?
At the moment, we're all remote. Sadly, we are. we're still finding our feet, as Andy alluded earlier. We've sold our agency, so we're all remote from our bedrooms right now.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, so I mean, if you did have an office, or if you were like getting one in a few months, something, you can always just do interviews. We can arrange it in like a public place or offices or something like that. Like, we'll work with you to make sure that we can sort out.
So the upshot there, though, is that you don't have to do remote interviews. You can interview people face to face, old school, if
you
you
can
need
do
to,
it face to face as well,
which is great, because the point Chris is making is you hire for attitude, not for skills, and
yeah,
sometimes you need to eyeball the person and get a sense of what they're all about, and you can train them the skills.
Yeah.
Will, you had your hand up?
Thanks, Andy. Jemma, just a couple of clarification bits, really. So Gradfuel would be the gateway if we were to work with Gradfuel, is that right?
Yeah, we're the gateway, yeah.
Cool, yeah. And then the second one is, so hypothetically, we work with Gradfuel, we get an appointment there, it doesn't quite work out. That £600, would we then have to pay that again to reappoint for that position?
No, so what actually happens, so if, say, you did, someone started working with you and they were only there for a month and they stopped turning up, then we would find you someone else, and then you would actually get the grant money again. And then you would pay the fee one more time, which would just be the 600, but you would get the grant again. So that's the thing for you. It's like there is no risk, and you don't have to you wouldn't have to pay it back either.
Right.
Okay, we're running over. Jemma, are you going to be okay to carry on for another couple of minutes?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
And if anyone needs to go, I will circulate the video to everyone. Anyway, Nick, you had your hand up.
Jemma, what percentage of candidates that are employed get through to the end of the 6 months?
So because the scheme hasn't been running so long, it's not actually gone to the end of the 6 months yet. So I can't actually give you a statistic for that.
Do you have a sense of, because you talk a lot about, if someone doesn't turn up, and I get that, and I get that you support us in terms of replacing that individual. How often is that happening? You're on the cold face. How often is that a common thing? Because I'd understand if it was.
Yeah.
For all the obvious points we don't need to cover, but are you seeing that happening a fair bit?
We're not, but also because the scheme is so early on as well. Sure. We wouldn't have been able to tell, because the people have been signing up, and we've only, it's only just started the scheme really, because it's been 4 to 6 weeks. And then the approval stage, and then finding someone, and then people starting. But it has been successful with the people that have started, the ones that we've been checking in on, they are enjoying the roles, and they haven't left. But that's actually a really good question. So I should get a statistic for that. Today I can come back, because that is like information that you would want to know.
We'll find out and come back to you, Nick. We'll get back on the number, but it is a sensible question, and it kind of goes to Chris's point about the attitude thing. I think it's the key here is hiring people with amazing attitude. You can always teach them the skills. And the other point was, we talked a lot about training and coaching, or training rather. This isn't a training scheme, is it, Jemma? This is. The fact is, it's only paying for 6 months. It's paying for 6 months. But that's not 6 months of them training and learning to do a job. My expectation is that's going to run in parallel, that they're going to learn some skills. They should be useful from the off if we set the roles up properly, rather than being a burden.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It should be like helping your, your like tasks as well, and with you in work as well, just helping you. So it's not like you training them for the 6 months. No, exactly. Like them working and being useful and helping your business.
Thank you. Elizabeth, put your hand up. Elizabeth, did you put your hand up, or? No?
Yeah, so mine follows on from Nick, really. And yes. Oh, am I there?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, we had a slight delay.
I don't know what happened there. Sorry. So following on from what Nick said, you said it's not been going long. So how many people have you actually placed to date?
How many? Okay, so I need to find that one out as well, just because I've only been at the company for 2 months, so I'll find that out as well. Because those are both very interesting questions. So because
98% is impressive, but if it's 98% and it's 10 people, that's not a lot of placement. So that's why I'm asking.
Exactly, that's the thing, 100%. Because the placement rate at the moment has been 40%, but I'll find out how many people they have placed, because these are the type of like statistics that you need to know.
Yeah.
And that's why our other statistics are very impressive, but because it's been like the early days, we haven't got those ones yet. But when I speak to the directors, I'll find that out for you, because
Thank you.
it's definitely something you would like to know.
We'll circulate that when we get it, Elizabeth. That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think we should wrap it up. It's been really fantastic, Jemma. Thank you. So interesting, such a good scheme. How do we get hold of you? We'll obviously share all your contact information. We've done that before. We'll do it again.
The information as well that I would need is how many people are on the payroll, to see how many Kickstarters that you can have, and then also your information on Companies House. And if you just put in your like first line of address, just to make sure I've got the right company, and then that's all I would need in the beginning to start processing the application.
So is the best thing for people to contact you and set up a direct conversation?
Yeah, that would probably be the best thing. Yeah.
Okay, and we'll share your. I know we've got a sort of Calendly type meeting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll do that. I think we do need to wrap it up. If you've got other questions, folks, send them to Jemma directly or send them to us, and we can. I know we have more that we've been sent in, so we'll get answers to those as well. If you've got questions, send them to us, and we'll send them to Jemma, or send them straight to Jemma. We'll share her details with everyone that attended. But thank you very much, Jemma. That was fantastic. Really interesting. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much, Andy.
Thanks, everyone. That was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.